Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. Can you just start off by telling me a little bit about what you do currently and
Mhm.
how you ended up in the role that you're in right now?
Of course. Yeah, so I graduated from USC this past May 2024. Currently, what I'm doing is I'm in a PhD program for business strategy at the University of Notre Dame, and I'm in my first year, obviously. And the reason that I'm here is because I really want to become like a professor or work in academia in my future. What really appeals to me in this role is I think the perceived autonomy that you have in that role. So, like, autonomy over my time and also like what I study. And that autonomy is really important to me. So, I think for a lot of people in Marshall, when I like told them that I wanted to get my PhD, the gut reaction is kind of like, why would you do that? Because you're losing out on like I don't know, like the opportunity cost of many years of working. But for me, it's worth it for like that payoff later, I guess. Um, and the way I got here was kind of convoluted. Like, I think I actually was supposed to take a gap year this year. But basically, like, what happened was through like a few different circumstances, like, I found this program and then I like interviewed, and it turned out to be a really good fit for me in terms of like the faculty and the research I could work on, which is why I'm like here instead of taking my gap year.
Hmm.
And then before I ended up in the program, I was going more of the econ route. So I actually did like an econ research internship with Glassdoor this last summer. And then that also like helped me build a lot of my data skills. So I think all of like my experiences leading up to here were very like research oriented. Even when I was doing industry stuff, it was like still kind of working with data and coming up with like these stories and stuff. So I think that prepared me really well for this kind of program. And then throughout college at USC, I was pretty involved in like both Marshall and oh sorry, not Marshall. I was involved in both research and like I don't know what would you call extracurriculars in terms of like dance and stuff.
Hmm.
So I feel like yeah, I feel like those were just like for me to do in terms of like having a balanced life, which is pretty important to me. So yeah, I didn't really do that many like intense martial clubs or anything. But I think like for what I want to do, that worked out well for me. And then yeah, is there anything else I should cover?
No, that's a really great response, and I think your career path is actually super interesting, just given that you're from the Marshall School of Business,
Mhm.
um, and you have all these experiences in different aspects of business. And you
Yeah,
mentioned,
thanks.
yeah, that some people were sort of questioning or, were maybe surprised that you wanted to go down the path of pursuing a PhD after school.
Uh-huh.
Um, was this something that wanted to do coming into USC, or is it something that you kind
Mhm.
of thought about at some point in your undergraduate journey?
Mm. Definitely something that I thought about more in my undergrad journey, but when I was in high school, it was something that I kind of considered for myself a little bit. And I kind of thought that I would like to be a professor, but you know, when you're in high school, you think a lot of things, but you don't really understand what it's like to go through with it. So when
Hmm.
I came to college, I kind of like learned a little more what it actually meant to like be in academia. And I feel like I learned a lot of the negatives before I learned of the positives. So I'm like hearing how stressful it is to like um, try to get tenure or like all the like politicking that happens and stuff. So to me, like I was getting all this, so I changed my mind. I was like, maybe not. And then in like my sophomore year, I did this internship as like a financial advisor, and then I kind of just tried. I don't know, like learning what it was like that I would want to do otherwise, but I didn't really like find it. And then the more I looked, also like I talked to like I would always talk to my professors and stuff because that was just like the easiest way for me to figure out what it's like to be a professor. And the more I talked to them, the more I realized like what I realize now, which is like that I really do want to do this, and it's worth like some of the difficulties that I first learned about, I think. And then so I kind of like went on a, I guess, like a U-shaped journey. Like I changed my mind once and then came back. I think what really convinced me is like just talking to some of my like Marshall professors. Like I had a few that were like really mentors to me. And I think like I'm really lucky that they took the time with me to like parse out my own journey. And then they like really knew my strengths and weaknesses too. And I think they could speak to like how that could serve me well. And then it just really helped me to figure out like why I want to do what I want to do. And then also determine like what's important to me. So another thing that's pretty important to me is like I have a lot of different interests. Like I also want to be like a pilot, and then I also like dancing and stuff. And this is like the one profession where I can really have full control over my time. Like there's not that many other things that you can do that are also like very rewarding in terms of like intellectual stimulation, in my opinion, where you can just like go and jet off or like do something else with your time. And then so that was like another big plus for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely like took a lot of like learning and talking to people and thinking about it.
Yeah, it seems like a lot went into that decision. Um, was it difficult, I guess, sort of going against the grain and, maybe seeing your peers go into different routes, or maybe the more traditional route of, doing marketing or consulting?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the most difficult part is like feeling um, behind in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that that is the way it is, but it's just a little tough. Like in terms of like financially, obviously, like a PhD stipend is not going to be the same as like if you're out there working at a real job. In terms of like in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think that would be like that. I think I struggled with that a little bit when I was first making the decision, but then now that I'm actually here, like I'm pretty happy with the way that it is, because I think talking to my friends that are working, like I realized that I don't know, like I kind of get this vibe that maybe my friends are just like not doing what they really want to do, but I get the vibe that they don't like their work as much as I like my work right now. So I think that like trade-off to me is what helped me like overcome that, especially being in my first year right now. Like I'm more confident that I made the right choice. But before coming in, I was definitely like, oh, I wish I was like in New York or like in California with my friends, like working or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think like another thing that was like a little hard was actually this part wasn't that bad, but like going against the grain in the way that people would be like, why do you want to do this? I don't think that made, that was never like super negative to me. I think it was like genuine curiosity is where like I think that question came from. And then I think once I like explained myself to my friends, especially like they understood, also like given my personality and stuff. So I think that is more of like an opportunity for me to also ask myself like why, and then also understand like for myself. So I wouldn't say it was like super tough, but definitely like I think the hardest part was comparing myself to like where people are.
Yeah. Kind of moving into a different topic, I guess. What is one thing that has surprised you about life or your career post graduation?
One thing that surprised me. That's an interesting question. I would say that, very generally, I think what surprised me is just how much like there is out there. And this, I wouldn't say this is like a gotcha moment. It's more of like a gradual realization, because like all my friends are in such different areas. So one, there's like the breadth of things that you can do, but then two, there's like the meaning aspect of it. Like there's so many different things everyone can do, but then I feel like so many people are unhappy. So just like how little it matters too. And that, not to be like very like angsty about it or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but just like I think just because like I grew up, I think a lot of people, especially at like USC or growing up in like a more maybe higher stress like school environment, you kind of like have your path set out for you, like, okay, you're gonna do this next, this next, whatever, whatever, and you're kind of leading up to like a goal, right? But then like now that we're in the real world, there's like no next goal. Like you don't need to get into another college or like whatever. I mean, I need to get a job still, but like that's me. So just like how little it matters, like how much I guess like um you can determine your future. Like for example, I met someone like last week that wants to be like a fighter pilot, and that actually like shocked me because I was like, what? Like you're in college, but then afterwards like you're planning on doing this like whole other thing, which is like really insane. And then I also met like an old friend, classmate of mine, who switched from like CS to becoming like a theater major. So I think just like seeing those like drastic things after graduating, um like what people do, it's just like, I don't know, in the big scheme of things, it's like you can really do anything. I think a lot of people realize this earlier than I did, but I like kind of lived a closed off, straightforward path. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of undergraduate students would like to hear, especially people, um, upperclassmen about to enter the workforce,
Hmm.
thinking about what they want to do after school. Because I know
Hmm.
a lot of my friends and just people I've talked to, I think, have this anxiety about what life is like post grad and what they're going to do with their
Hmm.
life. And that's part of the reason
Totally.
why I wanted to make this product for class. Is just I was really
Uh-huh.
curious on what people are doing post grad, so that's really
Yeah.
interesting to hear. um, I do have one more question,
Hmm.
and you can kind of take this however you would like, but I guess what is one piece of advice you would give to um, someone that is from Marshall, that is looking
Hmm.
to break into your industry or your uh, career path?
Oh, okay. Um, yeah. Also, like, I think this project is really cool. Definitely, like, people want to hear about, I think, like, this kind of thing, the uncertainty.
Hmm.
But now that I'm, like, here, I think the main piece of advice that I would give to people who are looking to break into here is know why you're doing it. Because I think, especially for academia, there's a lot of, like, self-motivation that goes into play here. So, like, nobody's on my ass, like, assigning me homework or anything right now. Like all my classes are super like discussion based. It's up to me how much I prepare for it. And then my research is like I work with people, but it's also like self-directed. Like I can dictate like my hours and stuff. So like I think anybody who goes into something like this needs to know why they're doing it. Otherwise you're gonna either burn out or like quit, I think. And then actually, yeah, that. And then also, I think this is more practical, but like knowing to use your time on like what's important because there are like a million things that someone in academia can do. I think this is true for probably a lot of professions too, but here, especially, like there are so many different tasks and you don't even know where to start. So it's really like you need to have that knowledge of like what is worth spending your time on and what's like you just need to I don't know, like get it done, and maybe it's like kind of a shoddy job but that's like good enough,
Hmm.
which is like I think that applies to a lot of fields, but here especially you can't like waste your time getting every little thing right.